last few months, it's been very special for me. Anybody have anything they want to say?
Yeah. Let's win this one for all the small schools who never had a chance to get here.
Okay.
I want to win for my dad. Let's win for Coach, who got us here.
Thank you.
Hey, we're here on the Stateline Sports Hour, my favorite movie, Hoosiers. Gordy Casper's favorite movie, Hoosiers. And right now we're going to get talk to Rade Butcher, Dr. Steve Hollar from Warsaw, Indiana. And Steve, thanks for coming on today. I know you get a lot of requests, and we sure appreciate it.
Good morning. Hey, I'm super glad to be here. I hope everybody's doing well.
Hey, you know, on that little part we used right there, you don't get to say what you wanted to win for your team, and your team actually did win the Indiana State Championship.
We sure did, and that's before Indiana goofed it up and went to class basketball.
You know, they are talking about going back to single class again.
Well, they haven't stopped talking about that since they went to it.
You know, how cool is that for you, I guess? You know, if you win a state title on your own and then you get to college and then get to play in a movie where you kind of get to recreate some things maybe that you kind of lived through yourself. How much fun was that?
You know what was really special about that? I get asked that a lot. You know, hey, Steve, I was kind of in a unique situation as you go and you have your rings sitting there, and I have kids now, and my kids can look at my state rings. I have state championship rings 3 decades apart. So that's pretty neat to have that. Certainly one was fictional in the movie and one in real life, and often get asked which was better, and that's pretty darn easy. The real deal, nothing could match the real deal. So it was a special time.
You were kind of a rebel in that movie. Are you like that in real life, Steve, or was that kind of fun to play that part?
I might be a little edgy, so maybe they did a great job of casting.
You know, when I read a little bit on what you did when you did this, you basically took a friend for the casting call, not expecting to get in the movie. He wanted to get in, and you end up getting in. How was that friend? Do you still talk to him, or does he still talk to you?
Well, you got to know in Indiana basketball, that just wasn't any little friend. It was Phil Wendell, who actually was an All-American. You certainly remember the name Scott Skiles.
Yes.
Phil Wendell actually was the point guard who won the state championship in 1981 in Indiana. He was the running mate of Scott Skiles from Plymouth, Indiana. So Phil was the kid who took me, and he was a senior at my college, and I was recruited as a point guard to replace him. So pretty cool story. So
yes, it is.
Phil Wendell was the guy, but the neat part about that, Phil asked me that day to go and take him, and he didn't have a car, and we had been buddies from summer ball, and I said, boy, I'll go, Phil, and I really respected him, and many tryouts later, I was fortunate enough to get the part, and poor Phil got cut.
When you guys are filming the movie, everybody wants to leave a mark in their sport, whether it's professionally or whatever. When you guys are making that movie, are you thinking this is going to be some kind of iconic movie that, every march is going to be played all over the place and everybody's going to talk about all the time?
Is your question, did we think it was going to be like that?
Right, yeah. Did you think it was going to be like that?
Oh, my goodness. I don't think we even dreamt. I think. Yeah. We were just trying to pull something off. So many pieces. I mean, we wouldn't have enough time this morning to tell you how many pieces in the puzzle fell together. Originally they wanted Nick Nolte for the part of Norman Dale. That didn't work out. Of course, he got the part in Blue Chips. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, of course, they got Gene Hackman, and I really think that was probably the biggest piece of the puzzle. He took a pay cut to do the part because he really loved, he's an Illinois boy, Danville, and played high school basketball. So he loved the script. It is really, these actors, that's the way they choose, the big time ones, that's the way they choose their movies. So, and then they landed Dennis Hopper, and they got him on the cheap because he was coming out of off of rehab from Betty Ford Clinic for one of his many stints in rehab. So they were able to nab him.
So they typecast him is what you're telling me, right?
Exactly. They nailed that one too, didn't they?
Yes, they did. You really got to work with some big actors, didn't you? Gene Hackman, Dennis Hopper, Barbara Hershey. I mean, and here, this is your first and only movie, if I understand it right. So you were in there with the big guys.
Your radio audience is talking to a one-hit wonder. You're exactly right. Hoosiers was my swan song.
What is the best part of the Hoosiers for you? What moment do you like to watch, or what moment does your kids or your family say, Dad, that was your moment right there?
Well, it was definitely the moment that I would have bet the farm that wouldn't have been in. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't know what's going to end up on the cutting room floor. I think that's the first thing for listeners to realize. And having not been in a movie, I didn't really understand that part of it. But looking back, going through the process, you kind of get the gist of what's happening. And one of the scenes, every scene they film at least 3 times, or 3 takes, that is, for insurance reasons. Mm-hmm. And the scene that some of your listeners might remember, when I punched the guy and get thrown out of the game.
Yeah.
Well, when I'm walking out in that hallway and I tell him probably the most quoted line, I'll have people come up in airports and yell, "Got him a good one, didn't I, Coach?" Well, that line, I would have bet the farm that wouldn't have been in the movie. So the interesting part, I guess, why I didn't think that would be in the movie was they only took 2 takes. Mm-hmm. And on the second take, it wasn't going well that day, and we were behind, and they took 1 take, and the director says, "Okay, look, let's hustle through this. We're only doing 1 more take." And I heard that, and it was later on in the filming, and I'm like, okay, they're going to cut this scene. So it made me mad. And when I delivered my line, I was actually a little irked. So, again, stroke of luck, my being a little immature at age 19 and a little fiery and a little ticked off, the director told me later the blessing for the movie was I delivered the line with a little bit of oomph to it. So that was probably the scene for me.
You know, despite having to give back 5% of your earnings to the school, you know, you were able to use that money to start your practice and everything. You know, when you take the part of the movie, you know, is that your thought process? You know, I'm going to use this as something to build a future with?
Well, don't get too excited. It wasn't that much money, but the inside story, don't anyone call into the NCAA. The neat part about that is we did reach a deal with my attorney, who was glad to take the case pro bono from a publicity standpoint. But I did write a check back to Orion Films for 5% of my earnings. Mm-hmm. And that was the deal that we struck so I could play college basketball. But the funny part, the back part of the story is I sent the check to Orion Films, which I was instructed to in the mediation. Mm-hmm. And about a week later, I got a return receipt with a letter that says, "Why are you sending us money?" And we sent it back and explained it was what was going on. So Orion actually called and they said, "Well, look, the NCAA is crazy, and this doesn't sound right. So what we're going to do for Steve Hollar is we're going to take the money that you gave us, Orion Films, and they put it in a trust fund, an interest-bearing trust fund. When I graduated from college, they wrote me a check back."
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty neat.
We're talking with Dr. Steve Hollar, who played Rade Butcher on Hoosiers. And, you know, I'm a big fan. A friend of mine, Gordy Casper's a big friend. Coach Mike Winters at a high school here is a big fan. And, you know, right. I'm a guy that bought the deleted the DVD so I can see the deleted scenes. And there's one young lady in there, I think played Sheb Woolley's daughter in the show. She got cut out of every big scene. So you did pretty good. They kept your scene in and they kept you happy. But I love the deleted scene. I get to find out when Buddy comes back to the team. Did you get that question asked to you a lot before they did all that stuff?
You know, we sure did. And there were some really, really neat scenes. I think the biggest regret, if you talk to Angelo Pizzo, the writer of the movie, who lives in Bloomington now, Bloomington, Indiana, that is, or David Anspaugh, the director, their biggest regrets is Orion pinched them down, I think, in the time, and they said this movie, no matter what, will not be over 2 hours because we're afraid, number one, people will not go to a basketball movie and even watch it, and they definitely never would watch a movie over 2 hours. So that was Orion, and they simply had to cut things that they really regretted, which were the explanations for Buddy coming back, and we did some really, really neat scenes. We did a scene in a field that really showed that we were farm boys, where we did a harvest, and we had sickles, and it was where you'd take the corn and thrash it and put it in stalks. I may be having the wrong terms there, but it wasn't a combine harvest, and they're really cool scenes that ultimately they had to cut.
Well, I used to live in Ohio before I moved to Rockford, Illinois, so I would go through Warsaw all the time. So next time I go through Warsaw back to Salina, Ohio, I'll give you a wave because I know that you're in Warsaw. And what a great thing to win the state championship at Warsaw and then get to play the part at Milan. We just thank you for being on today, Steve.
I think you guys have a great show. I think it's fabulous. Your listeners are very blessed to have live radio and be able to do this. So I think it's great. You love the movie. I'd love to talk another time if you want.
Oh, we will. We'll get you. How about during basketball next year? Would you do that, Steve?
Sounds fun.
That's great. Thanks so much. And my team's on the floor, Steve.
Great.
Thanks a lot. We've been talking to Dr. Steve Hollar from the movie Hoosiers, played Rade Butcher. That's interesting about the hit. Remember when he hits the guy?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
That is very interesting.
But if you watch I got the DVD where they take the cutout scenes. There's one girl in there that was playing Sheb Woolley's daughter. She gets little minor parts in the movie. You watch the cuts, she's on every scene. Every scene. Yeah. She is on every cutout scene that they did. It is amazing. So that's kind of cool.
That was very cool.
We've had a great day. Derek Demke.
Yeah.
We found out about him not kicking until he was a freshman in high school. We've had Dr. Steve Hollar on from Warsaw, Indiana. You ever been to Warsaw?
I've probably been through there, I'm sure.
US 30 goes straight through. It's got 1,200 stoplights. I will not stop to eat there because they make me stop on a 4-lane highway. It's kind of like going down State Street, that stuff. So
and Doug Livingston as well.
Yeah. And who said we couldn't do stuff after football and basketball
That's right.
season?
We got plenty to do.
And Doug Livingston.
Yeah.
We're going to bring him back.
Yes,
I'm going to sing
will.
for him again. So thanks to our producer, Tom Warner. We only had to yell at him once today.
That's right.
And he's a good man. We sure appreciate him. You're listening to the Stateline Sports Hour right now here on Newstalk 1440 WROK.
The Stateline Sports Hour continues on Newstalk 1440 WROK.
We are back here at the Stateline Sports Hour here on Newstalk 1440 WROK. Producer Tom Warner over there, Matt Nestor to my left, and I'm here, Dave Schmidt. Good to have you along. Good day today.
Have you calmed down a little bit?
I tell you can tell I liked that, didn't I? I didn't need caffeine today. That pumped me up.
That was the most excited I've seen you.
Yeah, you know what? I really do love that movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
It is a good
movie.
movie.
Let people watch it. And they used a lot of stuff in Indiana. They also went across the border in Illinois and did it. And it's just one of those movies. I'm sure they never thought. You say that he never thought it was going to be that way.
Yeah, well, like I said, the studio thought nobody would watch a basketball movie, and it's kind of funny. I didn't know about Nick Nolte. They were trying to get him for the part, and it is kind of funny because he did take the Blue Chips role later, probably regretting that he wasn't in Hoosiers because
Blue what?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, with Dennis Hopper, I knew he had problems, but I didn't know it was right after that stuff. That was a little inside stuff.
That is kind of typecasting there.
We'll also put up a link on our Facebook page. You can put on there WROK Stateline Sports Hour. It has a 25th anniversary article about all the players and all their thoughts. So I didn't want to put it on before because it gives a lot of information, but we'll put that on now. But it's one of those movies. It's like Field of Dreams. People love Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. That stuff. It's just one of the top 10 movies according to a lot of people.
Yeah, it stands the test of time. You can watch it today. It's the same as it was then. And
I like the part was that they brought in some really big actors.
Yeah.
And then they brought in people that had never acted in their whole life. That Phil Wendell was a well-known player.
Yeah. And you think about that though, a lot of great movies. That's usually the way it is. You get a couple of good people surrounded by a lot of people who nobody knows, and it's usually a mixture for a good movie.
Trying to think of the name of the producer or the director is actually from a town called Decatur, Indiana, which is outside of Fort Wayne. It was like 25 miles from my hometown, and he was caught up in that as a kid.
Yeah.
And Pizzo, was it Angelo Pizzo, what's his name? The producer of the movie. They both went to IU, and they loved Indiana high school basketball. And they are actually looking at bringing back single-class basketball. They're doing stuff all around the state.
Hope they do.
You'd like to see it in Illinois, wouldn't you? You'd like to see Illinois,
exactly.
too. And you're off to the Comic-Con.
That's right.
Have a great time.
Will do.
See Dan, tell him hello for me.
Will do.
All righty, that's going to wrap it up here on the Stateline Sports Hour. Had a great day today. Lots of good guests. Thanks for having them on. So for producer Tom Warner and my friend Matt Nestor, this is Dave Schmidt saying we'll see you next week on the Stateline Sports Hour.
talk everyone's talking about. WROK Rockford.
Streaming live at 1440WROK.com.
Accumulate